Welcome back. One Bills Live. John Murphy, Steve Tasker here until 3 o'clock today. The sad news yesterday, the former Bills defensive end Ben Williams passed away from natural causes. He was 65 years old, a mainstay on Buffalo's defensive line for 10 seasons. We got a former teammate of Ben Williams on the line with us now. Former Bills linebacker Darryl Talley played with the Bills from 1983 through 1994, made 2 Pro Bowl appearances of his own. He's a member of the Bills Wall of Fame. Darryl Talley joins us. Hello, Darryl. John Murphy, Steve Tasker up here in Buffalo. How you doing?
How you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Doing good, Darryl. Good to have you on. We had you on because you played with Ben Williams. He passed away yesterday. And what are your remembrances about Ben? He was a veteran when you showed up in '83. Tell us about how he handled you and your interactions with him as a rookie.
That is exactly what he did. He handled me. Ben Williams, Sherman White, and Phil Filippiano were the 3 that essentially got their hands on me. And what Benny told me was, he said, look, Darryl, you got to go out into the city and learn what this city is about. Come on, he wanted me to go downtown with him. Took us down to Lee's barbershop down there, and then he took everybody to Gigi's so that they got to go eat soul food downtown. And he wanted you to get to know the people of the city you were playing for, because he felt that that would give you a little bit more, how would you say, a little bit more feeling of belonging there, because you've got to meet some of the people in the city. You've got to understand how they feel and what they're seeing.
And did it work?
Yeah. It worked. Yeah, it worked. It worked well for us. I mean, we sort of got together. We went down to Jerry Butler's place because Jerry Butler had a bar in town, a restaurant and bar. So we went down there and we mingled with the people in the city. So we really made ourselves a part of the city. And instead of like a lot of guys try and separate themselves from the game and from the city and just isolate themselves, we didn't do that. We went out and became part of the city and tried to, how would you say, indoctrinate ourselves to the city and learn what the people were about and how they work.
Why do you think that was important to Ben Williams, Darryl? Did he ever say?
Sense of family, togetherness, and he felt that if everybody was pulling on a rope the same way, it's all going to be pulling. We're going to go in one direction. We're not going to go in 3 other different directions if we're all pulling the same way on that same rope.
Why did they call him Gentle Ben?
Because, to be honest with you, Judy looked at you, and if you looked at Ben, you would say he wasn't that great. He didn't look like he was a great athlete. But he'd hit you with them hands of his and grab you with them like a grizzly bear grabbing you. He'd hit you, slap you upside the head, and you could do that back then. He'd slap you, grab your wrist, pull your arms down, pull you to the ground by just your arms. Yeah, he had a whole lot of tricks. He was a really tricky character. He was really crafty.
With Darryl Talley, former Bills linebacker, former teammate of Ben Williams. Hey, Darryl, I was talking to Steve earlier this hour about Ben Williams, and you said it. You know, I'm not saying he wasn't fat, but he was kind of rounded. You know, he wasn't cut, he wasn't svelte, and he played. You know, you came into the NFL on that defense, which is a strict 3-4 defense, right? It was a lot different than 3-4 defenses that are even played today.
Oh yeah, it's completely different. But the way that Ben used his hands. He used his hands as if he was Bruce Lee. I mean, that's just the way he used to tie offensive linemen's hands up and get them off of him. And that was the thing that he instilled in Bruce. As long as they can't hold you, they can't stop you. And that was it.
What did Darryl, and not for nothing, but Ben Williams was the first African-American football player at Ole Miss.
Yes.
And he got drafted in the first round. Did he ever talk about that experience there?
No, he got drafted in the 3rd round, I think.
He was the first African-American drafted out of Ole Miss?
He was the first black person drafted out of Ole Miss, and Sherman White was the first black guy drafted out of Cal Berkeley. So, yeah, right. I had 2 guys that were the first at doing things. And he said, you know, back in the day, it wasn't all roses. At Ole Miss, he said, you know, there was a lot of different issues that he had to deal with, and being a large black man, he's going to come up against those problems. So yeah, showed us how to deal with a lot of the issues that we would be facing, taught us how to circumvent them and just cut them off, and how to walk away from people and not get into altercations with them. Yeah,
Darryl, this issue still comes up in relation. We just talked about it before you came on. The league is changing the rules to make sure that black guys, black coaches have a chance to advance to coordinators, to head coaches, to GMs. What do you think about the strides the NFL's at least trying to make and where they've come from?
I'm exceptionally proud of them for what they're doing and how they're trying to do it. Just wish you'd been around when I was there. That's all. But things come with time, and everything over time gets better. It doesn't always get worse. Sometimes things get better. And the NFL has tried to show that they can do that. They're putting their best foot forward and doing a lot of different things. Just like with them trying to go back in and help some of the pre-93 guys when they're doing a collective bargaining agreement. They're trying to show guys that, hey, look, we appreciate what you did. And guys are, some guys are a little bitter about it because of the way it was when they played. But now that they see that the NFL is actually trying to do things and doing things for the better, guys are starting to come around, and I think that's a huge thing for us being players, because if we can't talk to each other and learn what's going on with each other, from each other, then who else are we going to turn to?
We're live with Darryl Talley, former Bills linebacker. Hey, Darryl, I know you do follow the team pretty closely, and it's been pretty amazing the last couple of months this offseason, since the draft, since free agency, the expectations for your former team here. Many people think the Bills are all set up to win the AFC East division for the first time since the mid-'90s. Are you following that? What do you think of all that discussion?
No doubt. No doubt. I honestly, here's the one thing I can say. When I first met Brandon Beane and had a conversation with him in the hallway, I asked him a few questions. The man has done everything he said he was going to do, to the letter. And I mean, it's funny to see it come to fruition. But yes, he has done exactly what he said he was going to do when I talked to him. So I put my hands up and I say, let's get on board, boys, and follow him, because he's got a good plan.
What kind of things was he talking about? What kind of things did he tell you he was going to do?
Well, because I was asking questions. I said, we're going to need some guys at the next level. We're going to need a guy at the first level. We need a couple guys at the second level. I mean, because we went out and got a quarterback, and we got a running back. And I just told him what I thought I seen in the squad when I seen it. And I said, what are you going to do? He said, we got our eye on the quarterback. Up pops Josh Allen. Then up pops Ed Oliver, Tremaine, and Miano. So, those guys, they already had a good secondary. Now they got some guys at the second level that can really help them, and now they're adding to the front. So, yeah, I think they got a top 5 defense, and with the maturity of their offense, with the new addition of Diggs, I think that they have got a real good chance. They got a real good chance to play good special teams, and that's all you got to do. That's what we do.
How good?
We play in all 3 phases.
How good is the linebacking core for the Bills? I mean, we've talked about how maybe they need some depth, but by the same token, they only play 2 of them at a time now. They go 4-3 defense, and then the third linebacker is always a safety or a DB. You got Tremaine on the field, and you got Matt Milano on the field, and what do you think about that evolution of the game?
I think that those 2 guys can play very, very well. I think that I would use my hands a little more and be a little more aggressive that way. But, the guys are playing exceptionally well, man. I mean, when Milano was a surprise, nobody expected that one, I don't think. And then to watch him play the way he's played very well. And Tremaine has just turned out to be a beast. Now it's when does he decide that he decided to do it some last year. Now I think this year, maybe next year, he'll turn the switch and just really start to explode, because he's got so much speed and size. The guy is 6'5", and he's 250, and he runs 4'5" in open field and can cut. Yeah, this is going to be a beast.
Hey, Darryl, normally we'd know at least by now with the schedule out, which weekend is likely to be the Legends weekend. And this is the kind of season that you, like any Bills fan, is going to want to see some games. It's kind of driving you nuts not knowing when you're going to be able to get up here and see some Bills games at this point anyway.
Trust me, it's driving me nuts knowing that there's no sports going on, period. I mean, everybody's sitting there looking at each other going, okay, there's only so many times you can watch Netflix and Hulu.
You're right.
And for
You're absolutely right.
guys that like playing a game and like competing, you want to have somebody to compete against or watch somebody compete at a high level. And there's nobody to do it. Or you can watch your old reruns and games like that, but when watching those, all you do is start picking those apart as to what plays are really good at it, what a guy did and what he didn't do. Start almost like watching games come to me.
Yeah.
Darryl, so you've seen, the Bills drafted their guys this year. Started with A.J. Epineza. They got Zach Moss, the running back, a couple of wide receivers. What do you think about the draft picks, the new additions, and how that's going to affect the team? What are your expectations? Maybe not, in the small picture of who's going to contribute a lot, like Stephon Diggs, and then also how far can this team go?
I think they've got with their defense, they got a chance. They're not out of any football game. As long as they play great special teams, they got a chance. And they got to start using their number one weapon, the weather in Buffalo, to beat people up. They got to get used to that, understand it, learn how to play in it, and then use that to a real weapon, which it is. I think that the wide receivers are going to be fine. I mean, they had to get some height because all our wide receivers were short guys. And every time we got into the red zone, we would be in trouble because we really couldn't throw the ball up to nobody. The only person we could throw the ball up to in the red zone was Knox.
Darryl Talley, former Bills linebacker on the line with us. Darryl, we brought you out today to talk about your former teammate Ben Williams, and it strikes me how you were sort of a bridge player between two pretty good times in Bills football. I mean, Ben Williams, and you mentioned him, Sherman White, Phil Villapiano. Those guys won. They won AFC East titles, and you were there when their careers winding down, and you were here when the next great Bills teams came up. You were right in between two pretty good eras of Bills football there.
Yeah, I actually learned from those guys. That's like I said, I had three very good mentors that teach me about how to play the game and how to be a professional. And because when you're a kid coming out of college, you don't know a whole lot about a whole lot of anything when you get to the NFL. You're just sitting there, you're wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, and running around like you're crazy. And then the guy says, hey, look, this is the way you got to do this, son. You can't just run around all nilly-willy. This is what you have to do. You have to do this, then this, then this. Oh. For a lot of guys, it was a lot of structure that had to come in and come in quickly.
Darryl, thanks for coming on, man. It's great hearing from you. Thanks for giving us a little bit of information on Ben Williams, former Buffalo Bill, passing away. It's great talking with you, and we always love having you on.
All right, no problem. I'll talk to you every day. I'll talk to you again in the text, Debbie. Hey.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Darryl Talley, former Bills linebacker, former teammate of Ben Williams, Bills defensive end, who passed away yesterday tragically at the age of 65.